All of my children, including my son he's about to be 24, they've all been through the public school system. And I'm not saying the teachers are bad. I'm sure that the teachers in public school are great. They spend so much time being counselors and mediators that they can't teach. For me, when it came to choosing private school, it wasn't about education. It was more so about their safety. That's how it began. It became for me about their safety. These public schools, especially the ones that are failing, the teachers spend so much more time on actually mothering the kids instead of actually teaching them. So it became about their safety for me. I think public school teachers are great. They just are not, they can't teach. They spend too much time doing other things. A friend of mine who already had a daughter in Catholic school, and her daughter had been in Catholic school since kindergarten or first grade, she kept pushing it. She kept on, because I'm telling her what, my worries were as far as my kids being in public school, and I was telling her stories about things that were happening, and the school was on the news again, stuff like that. And she was like, well, you can always send them here. You can always send them to where my daughter goes. And I was like, girl, I ain't got no money. She's always been like a wealth of information. And she just kept throwing all these different scholarships at me and saying, apply for this one, apply for that one, do this, do that. And so I finally went on ahead and did it. And I got a lot of pushback from her and her father. Yes, I got a lot of pushback from her and her father because her father was kind of acting off of her emotions because she didn't want to leave public school because yes, it was bad, and yes, it was a lot of things. She didn't see it that way. All she saw was, these are kids that I have been with since preschool, since I was 4, and you're ripping me away from them. It was traumatic for her. She had a fit, and her father was acting off of her emotions and saying, why are you making her do this, that, and the other? You're following behind other people and blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, you know what's going on at that school. You know that school's been on the news. But eventually, I got her out of there, and I sent her to St. Francis de Sales on 47th in Springfield. And she started there in 4th grade. That was her first year. And she loved it ever since. And got to be in 7th grade. I was worried about how I was going to pay for her last year because she had maxed out with the Children's Scholarship Fund because you only get 4 years. And I was worried about how I was going to pay for that last year, the 8th grade. I said, hey, you want to go back to public school? Just as a joke. She didn't want to go. We made it through that last year, the 8th grade year, whatever. She ended up getting a different scholarship. But she ended up getting a different one, and she was able to finish off the 8th grade year fine and graduate. And then she went on to John W. Holohan. And then from there, we used the scholarships that go hand in hand with high school private school students. For me, it seemed like when you're dealing with private schools, the parents pay attention a little bit more, and that goes a long way. Because if you have parents that send their kids to school to get a break and for nothing else, the teacher cannot teach. When you have parents who are paying for their child, they're going to make sure their child behaves and pays attention and different things like that. Yes, you're going to still get some kids that are rambunctious and still get some kids that are going to be a problem, but it's not going to be on the level that it is in a failing school. But it was the neighborhood school, and at that time, that was all I knew. So thank God for Karen. It means a lot more in terms of when people who are letting them into college are looking at their transcripts and stuff. Doing well in a failing school is not as good as doing well in a Catholic school. You go, somewhere else, you're just pretty much average. But your skills are really tested when you go to a private school because a lot of times everybody's just as smart. And I gotta say, it's been great. They've been able to do things that I know that they would not have been able to do in public school.